Okay, let us start. So my name is Raychaudhuri Chatterjee. I'm a faculty member at the School of Astrophysics at Presidency University. Welcome to the colloquium on importance of setting up institutional archives, which is being organized in a collaborative effort of the Presidency University Library and the School of Astrophysics. And so I invite Professor Amlan Ghosh, the professor in charge of the Presidency University Library, to welcome you all.
Respected colleagues and dear students. So it's my honor to welcome all of you on this special lecture on importance of setting up institutional archives. And today, our esteemed speaker is Professor Oindrila Raychaudhuri from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. I am most respectfully welcoming you, madam. So, this is the age of digitalization. Hard copy data are need to be digitalized, stored properly, protected from the hackers, and most importantly, develop policy to share it among the end users. Availability of the digital data is most important in the field of education and research. Personally, I am from the field of life science. I know two public repositories like the Cancer Genome Atlas or TCGA and Gene Expression Omnibus or GEO, where anybody can visit, download the raw data, analyze it to fix their research goal to avoid wastage of time and money. Therefore, digitalization of the data to store it properly, protect it from the hackers, and develop policy for sharing it among the public, among the concerned people, is the most important thing in the modern education and research. And to go with the pace of the modern age, each and every institute should develop policy to prepare properly their institutional archive. So, in preparing institutional archive, its detailed information will be provided today to you by our esteemed speaker, expecting an enthusiastic and inspiring session ahead. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ghosh, for your thoughtful words. And now I call upon Ravi Shankar Giri, Assistant Librarian, to say a few words about our library and archival efforts.
Respected speaker, respected faculty members, dear students, my colleagues. Actually, in Presidency University, we have an archive. We developed actually it is in the development phase. We started during our bicentenary program during 2017 under the leadership of Professor Shapon Chakraborty. Whatever we digitize, that is not the size is not too much, but around 50 more than 60,000 page has been we have digitized, and with the National Digital Library of India, we actually this is in cooperation with the National Digital Library of India. They post our data also that are available through the also that are available, searchable through the National Digital Library of India. So there we all these texts are OCR'd, mainly some photographs, some old records like that is around the whatever the communication between the Daden establishment and the presidency college, Hindu hostel, even the setting up of when the Professor Maulanovich was the professor, then he has noted the idea of setting up a department on statistical aid. The later was available with our office. So we digitize them like this kind of communication of the later. There is another project taken by Dr. Upal Chakraborty on the British archive, British Museum and Archive. There's some digitized, but that has not been still been uploaded. And recently we have taken another project for the digitization of our old books and materials. That is the that work is going on. Hope we will able to give all these in the soon. We will give the all these things in web. Moreover, we do not have the digital. Our professor in charge told that there should be a digital library policy regarding what kind of materials has to be done. We are in the process. We have already made a draft. We have circulated among our that will be soon be finalized, and we will able to concretization of our digital library policy, and also as well as platform also we are taking care of. So that material will be available. No, this is in our websites also. That is the digital archive available through our website, Presidency University. If you visit Presidency University, there is a library, and the digital archive was there. From that one, we can search everything. Just I show that one. Like just 1 minute. No, this is not actually net. There is problem in the internet. That's why I'm not able to see. Show you. So thank you. No, that's it. Where is that one?
তো
Connection
লুজের জন্য এটা হচ্ছে,
হ্যাঁ
কানেকশন লুজের জন্য এটা হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, এইগুলো দেখে আপনার তো কোনো লাভ নেই,
না,
আপনাকে
না।
ওই জায়গাটা ঠিক করতে হবে।
না
Let him finish and we'll come back.
Okay, thank you. Please visit Presidency University Library website. They are in the library page. The link was given, and that is full text searchable was there. In that archive, actually there is one important thing in the library. What a Presidency College magazine from the beginning that was available from that side. There you will get the articles of Amartya Sen at that time, Professor Amal S. Tripathi, because there are several kinds of these type of documents. For example, Amal S. Tripathi was disagreed with the Professor Satyajit Ray regarding Ghanebairi. He has written an article. We have got around 50 requests for that article that is available on the on our archive. So these kind of materials are there. We tried our best, and hopefully we'll revamping our websites as well as the digital library platform that will be available after the completion of the project. Thank you. Thank you.
হ্যাঁ, সেটা তো কি করবো সেটা।
না হলে তো মরবে না। কেবিলটা লুজে চালবা আমাদের ভয় হচ্ছে তো
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Giri, for the description about our Presidency Library and the archival efforts. And now I will call upon our MSc second year student of School of Astrophysics, Ms. Joyitri Chattopadhyay, to introduce the speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome Mrs. Oindrila Raychaudhuri as our speaker today, and it's my privilege to introduce her. A graduate from the University of Calcutta, Mrs. Raychaudhuri has been associated for many years with two leading archives of Mumbai, the archives of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIFR, and as a consultant archivist and the archives of the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya, CSMVS, formerly Prince of Wales Museum of Western India. As a research facilitator, she has been associated with the archives of TIFR since 2008, during which time she has overseen the functioning of the entire archives, which included appraisal, accessioning, preserving, digitizing, and dissemination of the original records of the Institute and retrieval of these information for scholars, researchers, and members of TIFR. She also initiated the oral history project of the CSMVS and conducted interviews of 40 associated with the museum in various capacities. This included interviews of 2 of the former directors, present and former chairman of Board of Trustees of the museum, former trustee members, scholars, former and present curators, architects associated with the museum, and others. I would now like to invite Mrs. Raychaudhuri to share her insights with us. A very warm welcome, ma'am. The stage is all yours.
আপনি চলে আসুন, এটা জাস্ট একটু লুজ হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, নাড়ানোর তো না নাড়ানোরই চেষ্টা করছি, কিন্তু এটা একটু আধটু তো লেগেই যাচ্ছে না এটা। So this is okay with Zoom? It's moving on. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here, and I am really thankful to all the members of Library of Presidency University and the School of Astrophysics for inviting me here for this lecture today. As you have heard, I basically worked for Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and I have been associated with Tata Institute of Fundamental Research since 2008. And I have also spent a lot of time at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya, basically doing oral history for their people on the occasion of their centenary. So here I'm going to talk about the importance of setting up institutional archives, and I'll go through the plan of the talk, and then I will tell you that I want to show some snippets from the archives. Basically, if you make so much of effort to preserve, digitize, then what is the purpose? Why are we doing it? What are we going to know if we work so much? Then what is the benefit from that? In order to show that, I'm going to show you some snippets from TIFR archives. So, we all know that very important documents that before they come to the archive, they are usually found in this condition. This is a photograph taken when we went to Homi Bhabha's ancestral home and found his study table. This is the photograph of his study table. If you see small boxes, you will see that all those small boxes were filled with letters and photographs. And the job of the archivist is to basically change that and convert it into this form, get those documents and arrange them properly so that the final form is this. Now I come to the plan of my talk. First of all, I will tell you about the concept and principles of archives. I will talk a little bit about histories and how to reconstruct the past through oral histories. And finally, I'm going to show you some snippets from the archives, TIFR archives. Now, what is an archive? the fundamental question, So basically, archive houses and preserves an organized and labeled collection of historically important documents or records, providing readily available information about a place, a country, an institute, or a group of people. Now, one thing, archives, we are talking about institutional archives, that includes business archives as well. The top business houses in India, I am talking about India, like the Tatas, the Godrej, the Bajaj, they all have very organized archives. So when I talk about institutional, I also include the big corporate houses also, like Piramal, like Cipla, they all have archives. What they basically focus on, our focus changes as the pattern of our organization changes. This is what is important. Here it's an university. Business house like Tata's will have a different focus, but the one purpose is the same. That is, we have to preserve the history of the organization. Now, the National Archives of India is the custodian of all the records of enduring value of the government of India. Initially, it established in 1800, it was known as the Imperial Record Department, which when the capital moved to Delhi in 1911, the Imperial Record Department moved to Delhi, and it was housed since 1926 in this building. And the National Archives of India it's the largest repository of South Asia. All states have archives. Now we have with us, I'm very happy to have Mrs. Day here, and she has been associated with West Bengal Archives for a very, very long time. I'm really happy that she is here in the audience today. So why do we need institutional archives? It's very important. And the first and the most important thing is we want to know about the history of the organization. And also we want to know as the archives serve as a reliable source of information, ensuring accountability, transparency, and access to evidence of the past. Because, many a times we get to hear stories about various things. But whether it is correct or not, in order to know that, we have to refer to an archive and just check whether it is true or not. So this is really very important. Archives are invaluable sources for researchers, scholars. We have all discussed it before that we want to make the archives accessible for researchers and scholars so that they can study and they can flourish and do their work. Archives can serve as evidence in legal cases. I personally have been a part of this. I have seen this when two parties fighting a case is consulting the archives, the same archives and the same documents for one particular legal battle. So you see that this is very important, that for legal things, people do consult archives. Archives also provide evidence of the past actions, and we always expect that the present administration should be able to make decisions looking at the things that have happened in the past so that they can make informed decisions and they can do policy makings properly, more effectively in shaping the future. They can take decisions properly to shape the future properly. I really don't know how much our policymakers use the archives. I think it's basically limited to the scholars and researchers. Those who are actually in the position of policy making, I think they hardly use the archives. But this is a very sad state of the country. Now we come to a legal definition. This legal definition was given by P. Basu in his book, where he writes that records are books, papers, maps, photographs, or other documentary material, regardless of the physical form, characteristics, made or received by a government agency, institution, or organization, family, or individual, in pursuance of law in connection with the transaction of business and preserved or appropriate for preservation by the government agency, institution, organization, family or individual, or its legitimate successor. Now here it's a bit dated. Here we also consider audio clippings, video clippings as records. It is not only the books and manuscripts and maps and photographs, but these are also records, which I will show you a little later. And families also have archives nowadays. Many of the families, families which actually have, can trace their history for certain time, they also have archives. Like the Godrej, they have their family archives where they preserve their family photographs, letters, and everything. I'm going to show you one photograph. Here, Homi Bhabha addressing the audience during the inauguration of the new buildings in 1962. On the dais, you see Prime Minister Nehru, also JRD Tata, and the governor. Okay, here is a photograph of Bhabha with Dirac and the handwritten letter by Dirac written to Bhabha, where he writes that he will be coming to TIFR. So everything related to that, it was written in 1954. So one thing with the what we basically try to do in the archives is to match things, that okay, here is a letter and here is the photograph. So this is what we try to do all the time. Now I'm going to talk about a record. What is a record and what do we mean by a life cycle of record? Which record should go to the archives? Now, in the record management, there are three sections basically. First is the creation. There will be a record creating agency, one particular department, one particular organization who is creating the department. So the creation of the record is the first important thing. What will come to the archives if the record is not created? So the birth of the record is the first and the most important thing. After the records are created, while the file is open and with the record creating agency, the file has to be properly maintained. That is a very important thing. That is the archive, before it comes to the archive. I'm talking about the time before it comes to the archives. The record creating department should maintain and preserve the records properly. After the records, after the file is closed, archives only the files which are non-current, not even semi-current. What do we mean by current, no, semi-current and non-current? A current file means which you are referring every day or maybe once in a week. Semi-current means if you refer to the file in once in 6 months or maybe once in 1 year. And a non-current file is what it's closed, you are not referring to the file. If you want to refer to the file, it will come from the archives to your department. Okay, so that is a non-current file. Now, non-current file are usually, there is a process by which the archivist and the record creating department sit together and decide whether the file will be disposed or whether the file will go to the archive. Only the file which has historical importance will go to the archives. Now I'm going to talk about the key aspects of archiving: the appraisal of records, the accessioning of records, the storage of records, the cataloging, indexing, preservation of records, access to records, and the two other aspects and the very vital aspects are digitization and digital preservation and dissemination of information. Now I am going to take up each of them and talk to you about it. First is the appraisal of records. What do we mean by the appraisal of records? Now, every record creating agency produces, I told you just now, huge amount of data, and it is not possible to put everything in the archive. It is a request from the archives that please don't think that archive is a place to dispose things. Whatever you don't want, send it to the archives. No. Archives are places, archives are houses only very important, historically important data. All the other data which you record creating agency doesn't need, they have to dispose it. It will not help if they send it to the archives. So in order to do this, we need what is known as a selective retention of records. Now, appraisal of records is the process of determining the value of records based upon their current historical, administrative, legal, and fiscal use, as well as their informational and intrinsic value. That is, generally records which are more than 25 years old are basically considered for appraisal. Records more than 25 years old, till this 25 years, the records are usually with the record creating departments. Okay. So there is another thing, that is a record officer, a record room in every department should have. I'm not getting into that. After the appraisal, the records come to the archives. Only inactive records, that is non-current records, are archived, and records which are used in the day-to-day functioning is not sent to the archives. And the record creating department along with the archivist should sit down and do the appraisal, because the archivist will tell which is important, and the record creating department also knows which is the important thing, because they are the one who have created the records. And this is undertaken with the view to identify the records of permanent value for subsequent transfer to the archives. Now the accession of records. Archival records can be acquired in a variety of ways, such as transfer from the departments or as gifts, loans, purchases. Okay. Sometimes records are given to an archive on permanent loan. Then the archives are the custodians of the records. The ownership of the records is that with that record creating agency. Accessioning is the process of transferring physical and legal custody of permanent records from the record creating department agency to the archives. This is the first step in the archival process, when the accessioning involves taking custody of the materials and creating an inventory of the materials transferred to the archives. The records, when they arrive in the archives, until and unless the accessioning happens, the intellectual control of the records is not with the archivist. Only after accessioning, the archivist has the intellectual control over the records. Now in 2013, TIFR acquired a huge number of books, letters, and photographs from the estate of late Jamshed Bhabha, and all these are pertaining to his elder brother Homi Bhabha. See, this is the house where Homi Bhabha lived, the ancestral house, and this is the table that I showed you in the first thing, photographs. So from here we got around 2,900 letters, around 500 photographs, and around 1,700 books that was given by NCPA, National Center for Performing Art, because they have actually inherited all the property from Jamshed Bhabha. They gave it to TIFR on permanent loan. We are the custodians of those records. Okay. Now the cleaning and the storage. Once the records come to the archives, the first thing is they are usually filthy. Sometimes they are infested with insects. So fumigation is the one and the most important thing. Many a times you don't have to do fumigation. If there are no silverfish or anything, then you don't need fumigation. But if there are, in the documents, there are insects, then fumigation is a very important thing. We don't have a fumigation chamber. We have utilized Pest Control of India, they have done fumigation for us by using a chamber from which they have extracted all the oxygen and put in nitrogen. And they have left it like this for a few days so that all the insects died because of lack of oxygen. So that is how the fumigation happened. And that is what we have utilized for the books that we got from Bhaba's house. Okay. After that, we see that when the letters and documents come, they usually have rusted pins, clips, usually very dirty. So the first step in the cleaning, all these things have to be removed. And while it has to be handled very delicately, use a brush to clean up the papers. And because we are removing the pins and the clips, what I basically try to do is to number the documents immediately, so that when you remove the pins and the clips, there is a chance of the documents getting mixed up. Then it becomes extremely difficult to understand which paper is from which particular document. You have to go look at each and every date and do this. The best is to number it right in the beginning, then clean, and then remove all the rusted pins and clips. So this is how we use the brush to clean the thing. And then we talk about the storage. Once everything is cleaned, all the folders are removed. We put them in acid-free folders, and acid-free folders are kept in acid-free boxes. So you see these handwritten letters, you see the acid-free folders that we have. Then acid-free folders, we keep them in acid-free boxes, each of these folders. And these acid-free boxes are kept on the shelves and the compact shelves like this. Now, for the physical preservation of the files, this is very important, that you need to put them in acid-free folders, and you need to put them in acid-free boxes and then in proper compact shelves in the repository. So every file has a file cover. We remove all of them and put them here like this. Now, cleaning of the photographs. In the photographs case, you see old photographs. These are very delicately, you have to handle them. These are not from TIFR. Obviously, you can see presidency. This is from the open source. So there are strict rules for handling of photographs. They have to be handled very carefully, old photographs. And you have to see that they are not bent or mutilated or folded or anything like that. Keep them in dark environment, avoid direct sunlight. The temperature and humidity are very important. Temperature should be less than 24 degrees centigrade, humidity less than 65 degrees centigrade. These are all very good on paper. It is very difficult to have such environment in our present official, government offices. We have difficulties, but we try to. We try to have dehumidifiers in the repository. We try to see that we have less than 24 degrees centigrade in the, and we try to put the photographs in the acid-free albums and sleeves and then in boxes. Damaged photographs should immediately go for restoration. If you don't have a restorer in-house, please call experts. Conservators are there. You can call them. They will come and restore, because sometimes photos have fungus. If you keep the fungus invested photo with all the other photos will also get fungus. So here you see that these white albums that you see, they are all acid-free papers. We have put them without any corners. We have put the photographs without any corners. And you see that some of these photographs below are kept in album sleeves, which are archival sleeves. These are polypropylene material, and they are suited for archival photos. So then we put them in this in the binders, and then we arrange them on the shelves. So either we use the acid-free paper or we put them here. Now this polypropylene sheets are expensive. When we have money, we buy them. When we don't have money, we buy acid-free papers and you put the photographs like this. But physical photographs preservation is very important. We will talk about the importance of digitization, but we have to preserve the physical photographs. Now the cataloging. Cataloging is a process of writing description for the records that are being transferred to the archives. The records are to be searched for later using description and titles within the catalogs. And archive catalog is thus a finding aid because that helps the scholars to locate a particular record. And this is obviously, the cataloging has been really speeded up because of digitization, and the archives should have a proper catalog so that you can tell the scholars what you have. Because sometimes people come and ask for things that you really don't have in the archives. If you have a proper catalog, you can say, okay, we don't have this. All right. Next is the indexing of records. The indexing, all of you from the library, you know what indexing is like. So I'm not getting into the details of indexing, but it is a very important tool for retrieving of records. And for others, I will tell you what is the difference between cataloging and indexing. For cataloging, if you are looking for a book in the library, the catalog will help you to get the book. If there is an index, the index will help you to find what is the topic that you are looking for in which book. I hope I am clear, making it clear to everyone, and for especially the library people, because I am not a part of the library. Our way of keeping things are a little different. So, but we always try to have a descriptive catalog so that we know that which file or which record has what in that particular thing. Now we have the environmental control of the archives. What are the environmental controls that we need? We need the repository, which has to have a robust construction. We all know this. Then protection against fire, flood, unauthorized entry, protection from pests and pollutants, dust, rodents. Must make sure that, especially for old buildings like this, there is no hole from which the rats can come inside your archives. This is really very important. It should be far away from the water source, maintain constant humidity and temperature, protection from direct sunlight, smoke detectors and fire alarms should be there. The next is the security of the archives. It's very important. I'll give you an example about the security. You see that one has to guard against rodents, pests, everything. But what about the human being? Sometimes people purposely or inadvertently does damage to the records. So I'll give you an example. The Tata Central Archives, when you want to go and access the archive, if you have to go and visit the repository, along with 4 officers, there are 4 armed men who come with the visitor. All phones have to be left outside the archives because their archives not only has important documents, papers, and photographs, but they have important memorabilia like JRDs, Bharat Ratna, Legion of Honor, and all these things. So whatever is the reason, there are 4 armed men for one visitor, along with 4 officers for the repository. So this is the amount of security that they put. Now, access to keys must be strictly controlled by the archive staff. All records which are open to inspection by the public should be clearly described in publicly available finding aids. Archives should be controlled by the staff, and a book should be maintained in order to which paper has been given out, which paper has come back. That thing has to be very clearly maintained. And also, we need an identity of the person accessing the archive. Okay. Research scholars also should, I will talk about the accessing policy just now. The research scholars should also have a letter of introduction from the agency. their organization, basically university or whatever organization. A letter of introduction for your university or organization is very important, mentioning your interest, areas of interest. One thing is, archives is not museum that you just go around and see. It is a very specific kind of a place where you go there for a specific purpose. It is not a museum that you just go loiter around. National Archives of India is the custodian of all public records of the Government of India and are available for use of bona fides research. Access to the records in National Archives is governed by the Public Record Rules of 1997. Usually, the head of the archives gives permission for access to the archives. Usually for the business archives or for archives like TIFR, you write to the chief archivist, but final decision comes from the head of the archives. For TIFR, it is director who is the chairman of the archives committee. Now, a person who is consulting the archives, you have to follow a few rules. That is, please don't write on the archival material, don't put marks, don't fold them. Don't put them on your lap and look at the papers, put them on the table. Okay. Don't remove any paper. Don't take photographs without informing. Don't eat, drink, or smoke inside the repository. Don't carry your bags. Don't make unauthorized copy. Don't disturb the people around. And also behave properly. Don't fight with the person who is supervising the record room. And see, the readers are not allowed with mobile phones, coats, jackets, bags, etc. inside the repository. Continuously, there should be supervision. The readers are not left alone to look at the records and the archives people have gone for lunch. No, people take turn to have lunch. If the reader is there, somebody from the archives is always there. In the university, this is, I think, everybody understands invigilation. So now we come to the importance of digitization. Okay. See, papers, very old papers degrade because of various reasons. One is natural aging. Paper becomes yellow, brittle. Another one is a type of paper. Wartime paper are very brittle. Those who have seen wartime paper, they particularly know that paper are so brittle. All papers are not like that. The quality of the paper is also important. Then, of course, the man-made disasters, disasters like seepage, insects and other disasters there, flooding, vandalism, theft. So scanning of documents is a solution for all of them. And one very important use for the scanning is that you don't give the original record to the scholar. What you give is a scanned copy. They will browse at the scanned copy and the original records you keep with yourself in the repository. So this is how you are trying to make less use of your original documents. Now, everything is not scanned. So sometimes we have to give originals to the scholars to look at. But if you give them scanned copies, it is easier. Now, obviously, the question comes is, if digitized things you are given, person can put a pen drive, take that, or take photos. You have to make sure, tell the person that this is not what is desirable. Whatever you need, you give, put them in the requisition slip. We will give you the material. For digitization, the scanning, first of all, the papers will all have to be numbered. The scanning has to be done in the TIFF format in 600 dpi. Okay. Now, various type of, sometimes scholars just wants to read. They don't want 600 dpi. So you give them JPEG in 300 dpi. But for publication, you definitely need 600 dpi TIFF format. And all scan data that you have done should be kept in multiple copies in various machines, so that if one disk crashes, you can get it from the others. The scholars are usually given soft copies. Now, despite the growth of AI, cloud-based data management, big data science, everything, there are still, with all the institutions, commercial and government, a lot of paperwork is happening. It's nothing is completely digitized. Okay. So, and it will not happen overnight. So we have to basically, and another problem with digitization is that in order to have a software, it is very, very costly. They require experts for handling, and they still do not guarantee 100% data security. So physical record storages embedded with modern technologies can still play an alternative role to cover this gap. This is very, very important. Okay. It is absolutely essential to find a good record management solution which is cost effective, easily implemented, and can help you to organize large volumes of physical records in a systematic and secure manner. The problems of digitization. A technology gets upgraded from time to time, huge amounts of data get lost forever if the migration doesn't happen properly. See, the audio that you heard just now was done in spools. Now we have spent a lot of money in order to get the MP3. Okay. Likewise, we have records or lectures in video format, Betacam, the video cassettes. We are spending a lot of money to get them in the MP3, MP4 format, from the floppies, from the CDs, from the DVDs. So it is a continuously, this migration has to be done. We don't do it at the proper time, then it is very difficult to find the agency who will do it for us. And even if you find an agency also, you have to spend huge amount of money for this digitization. So this is one very big problem. Another thing is, it's quite a new phenomenon in India, so many people cannot handle it. Many people are not trained to handle it. You require training for the staff of those who will handle digital data storage or online document management systems. They are very vulnerable to cyber attacks, online burglary, hacking, everything. And also, one important thing is that for our archives, we charge reprography fees. Like somebody wants to use one photograph for their book, then there is a amount of money that we charge for the scholar, because obviously for every archive, funds is a big issue. So we really don't want the people to hack all our data. Importance of microfilm. People who are involved with the library, they all know that the importance of microfilm is great. Whatever we have digitized, some part of it we have done microfilming also, because the microfilm lasts much longer, and if they are kept in proper conditions, they will last for 500 years. They are analog storage methods, so it's completely immune to hacking, cyber attacks, etc. Libraries and archives heavily depend on microfilms. Now, dissemination of records. Very important. We have to share with everyone what we have inside the archives. Otherwise, people think there is one room in one corner of the institute where 2-3 people go every day and come out. Everybody thinks archives is a Raddiwala department. They only keep old papers. But what is there in the archives, people don't know. If you don't share the information that is there in the archives, nobody, not even the professor who sits next to your office, will also know what you can see in the archives office. So dissemination of information is very, very important. So you see what are the means of dissemination? Either through exhibitions, publications, bulletin boards, some form of lectures, seminars, online portals, nowadays social media. So every archives now has social media also, workshops. And what are the goals of dissemination? Promoting and use, supporting research, facilitating education, informing policy, promoting transparency. And the most important thing is getting grants. You have to tell that we are doing something, because nobody knows what you are doing. So in order to get grants, you have to be visible. And how will you be visible? Unless you put up something, nobody knows what is happening inside your department. So this is very important. Likewise, we usually have exhibitions. On certain occasions, we put up exhibitions with archival photos and documents, put up stories, and we try to, this was after we got the letters and photographs from Bhaba's house. This exhibition was put up. These are letters and photographs between Homi Bhabha and his family members, father, mother, aunt, brother, all these people. So this exhibition was only that. Likewise, every year we have exhibitions, and we try to have these exhibitions so that we know that people come here, look at the exhibitions, they know that because we have preserved them, we can see them. Dignitaries come, you can see all of them here. So they either come and look at the permanent exhibition that we have at TIFR on Homi Bhabha. It's Dr. Kalam, Narayan Murthy. This is Dr. Kasturi Rangan. He is Dr. Kakotkar, Romila Thapar. This is Dr. Hamid Ansari. They have all come. They have either come and seen the permanent exhibition, or they have come to inaugurate the temporary exhibitions that we put up. The first one here, Dr. Kasturi Rangan is looking at the exhibition, is that the space program exhibition of the DAE TIFR space program exhibition. This one, Dr. Kakotkar had come to inaugurate the exhibition on the Kolar gold mine experiment. This is a bulletin board that we usually make. Presently, this is the bulletin board that we have. We have a place near the canteen where we put up bulletin boards regularly. So what we basically do is that we write about the person, whatever archival papers, documents we have in the archives, we put the scanned copies there. We get a few more material from the open sources and put up a bulletin board for the community to see, for the students to see, for the faculties, young faculties, those who don't know the history of the place. So this is really very important, that this is the one way of dissemination, and it is very popular. I'm telling you, if we don't put up bulletin boards regularly, many people have come up and asked me that what is the next topic that you want to do? That can be anything. This is right now the bulletin board. I have got a photograph. But there are like bulletin boards where we have talked about TIFR canteen, garden, about the visitors, about many other things. You know, whatever we have in the archives, we select one topic and put up a bulletin board regularly, once in a month. Now, in order to set up an archive, what are the things you need? The first and the most important thing that you need is archival material. You have to have old files. If your organization has discarded all the old files, old material, then you cannot set up an archives. So that is the first and the most important thing, that is you need the old files, records, photographs in order to preserve them. Then sufficient space. Sufficient space means the space should not be in the basement or in the attic or next to the washroom or under a staircase. It has to be a decent room of decent size. A proper furniture for the storage, necessary equipment. You know, you need equipment like a fumigation chamber or compact shelves, or you need those storage material like the acid-free boxes, acid-free folders, acid-free paper for those albums that I have shown you just now. Human resources, because all this for work, you need human resources. Even your work assistant, you have to train the person that when they are scanning archival documents, they cannot handle it the same way like they handle normal paper. Everyday paper, the way they handle it, archival papers have to be handled in a different way. Cleaning of the files also, you need to train your work assistant. Adequate funds, that is the most important thing, which we don't have. None of the archives will say that they have adequate funds. So it's basically that if you make a lot of publicity of what you have in the archives, maybe some good Samaritan will come up and say, okay, fine, we'll get some funds. Now I'm going to talk about the reconstruction of history through oral histories. So oral histories, this is an old saying. It's very important that when an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. So you see that the elderly people associated with the organization has a lot to share about the organization beyond the documents. See, in the official documents, you don't put, you know, that you get to know about them. It's a method of conducting historical research through recorded interviews between a narrator with first-hand knowledge of the historically significant events and a well-informed interviewer. Okay, so what are the benefits? You know, oral histories can confirm information found in documentary evidences. They often form valuable resources to plug gaps in the available records. Despite the somewhat disconnected nature of information, they provide much lost information which is not there in the written records. They also provide color and human interest. Like, give you an example. Suppose there is a big project, okay, a big experiment like GMRT. The person who is in the canteen there or who is a driver there, they also have lot of stories to share about the project. When we think of interviewing people, it is not only the directors and the deans and the project investigators. The whole set of people have a lot of things to share about the particular thing, about the particular project that is happening. Now, what is the methodology for conducting an oral history interview? Is that the interviewer will have to read up the history of the organization, history of the institution, history of the experiment, whatever. You are going to interview the person for the oral history of the museum. I had to read up the history of the museum. Now, based upon that, the interviewer makes the questionnaire. The questionnaire interviewer will be conducted well in advance. He has to be given the questionnaire. Then the interview will be conducted over a few sessions, and after the completion, the audio recorded will be transcribed, edited, and given to the interviewee for approval. Once the approval comes, you have to make him sign something called a gift deed. If the gift deed is not signed, his oral history interview cannot be used for any film, documentary, books, publications, nothing. This is very important that you make the person sign the gift deed. Then you have the ownership of the interview. Once you have that, then you can use it for some other purpose. And then once the approval comes, you can keep it stored in the archives for future reference. This is Dr. Gorakshikar. He was associated for the museum for almost 40 years and he was the head of the museum for 20 years. My oral history project started with him. He was a very old and frail man and passed away 3 months after the oral history interview. So we interviewed him at the age of 87. Also, he spoke continuously for 5 hours. Okay, twice. So just one photograph I wanted to share with all of you. Now the snippets from TIFR archives. TIFR, if I hope you all know, is an institute of National Center of Government of India, and it's an institute for advanced studies and fundamental research in physics, mathematics. All the subjects, like it's basically an institute for research in physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, computer science, science education, astronomy, nuclear physics, like this. It was founded in 1945 by Homi Jahangir Bhabha, who was also known as the father of the atomic energy program of India. Now, holdings of the archives, what we have around 3,500 files. We have letters, we have photographs. This is a photograph of Khrushchev and Bulganin visiting TIFR. Okay, now we have the oral history recordings. We have lectures by various scientists who have come and given lecture. We have recently got some of them digitized. Okay, now Here is a letter from TIFR archives. The letter was written by C.V. Raman in 1930 from Kolkata, 210 Bagbaja Street. That is the cultivation of science in those days. The letter was written by C.V. Raman to Hormuzji Bhabha. Hormuzji Bhabha was Homi Bhabha's grandfather. Okay. Now I have to tell you a little bit about Homi's life. He went to study mechanical tripods in Cambridge in 1927. He wanted to shift to mathematical tripods. Soon after that, there was a lot of discussion with the family and he wanted to shift. His family wanted him to become an engineer. He wanted to become a physicist. So all these issues were there. Finally, his father gave him the permission to do mathematical tripods. Now, during that time, his grandfather wrote to C.V. Raman asking about Homi Bhabha's prospect. Okay, then if he does physics, what is his prospect? So, his C.V. Raman writes, the career, my dear Dr. Bhabha, the careers open to a young physicist in India are not very numerous. Of recent years, quite a few have found an opening in Indian Meteorological Department. The pay and conditions of service in which are good and opportunities for research not absent, though naturally restricted to subjects of departmental interest. Apart from meteorology and other minor scientific departments, the new universities and colleges have absorbed a certain number of physicists with research qualifications. The number of candidates offering have been steadily on the increase and not all have found satisfactory appointments. Nevertheless, I believe that a really brilliant worker will not long remain out of employ. Systematic research in modern physics, which includes atomic physics, is being carried on chiefly at Calcutta, in my laboratory, and to a minor extent in few other places. I think it should be perfectly possible to organize a department of modern physics at Bangalore, which could then rank with the leading laboratories of the world and offer opportunities for brilliant young men like Mr. Homi Bhabha to continue their researches in a stimulating atmosphere. This is one of the things which I hope to carry through if I am called by the council to succeed Dr. Foster. My feeling is that your grandson might be allowed to try his hand at research in Cambridge. He is evidently keen to do it, and view of the favorable opinion regarding his capacity, it is very likely that he will be successful at it. Yours sincerely, C.V. Raman. So you see that he is planning to move to Bangalore, set up a department of high energy physics. He did move to Bangalore. He did set up a department of high energy physics. Homi Bhabha, when he came back to India during the wartime and he could not go back to England, joined IISc Bangalore. When C.V. Raman invited him to come and join IISc Bangalore, he was a professor there, and TIFR was born at IISc Bangalore from this cosmic ray unit. Okay. So it was in 1945 at IISc TIFR was born. This in this photograph, this is a newspaper cutting. Newspaper cutting is also a record. By the way, I have missed it maybe. And so what Bhabha wrote to the Tata Trust, he got money from the Tata Trust. So what did he write to the Tata Trust in order to get money for TIFR? He wrote a long letter. I'm just writing a few, telling you a few excerpts from them. There is at this moment in India no big school of research in fundamental problems of physics, both theoretical and experimental. There are, however, scattered all over India competent workers who are not doing as good work as they would do if brought together in one place under proper direction. The scheme I am now submitting to you is but the embryo from which I hope to build up in the course of time a school of physics comparable with the best anywhere. TIFR moved to Bombay same year, 1945 December. It was stationed in this house, Kenilworth. The bungalow belonged to his aunt, Homi Bhabha's aunt. This is the inauguration of TIFR in Bombay, 19th December 1945. You see Sir John Colville, he was the General at that time. And this is the newspaper cuttings that you see here. This is a photograph, a very famous photograph. Many people here must have seen this photograph of Indian Science Congress of 1938. If you see the photograph very carefully, you will see C.V. Raman. Then you can see Homi Bhabha, Prime Minister. Then you can see Maharaja of Mysore. On the second row, left corner is Meghnad Shah. Then on the third row, third person from the left is S.N. Bose. On the first row, you see here Prashant Mahalanabish. You have S.S. Bhatnagar. Then you see behind K.S. Krishnan. Then you see Gyan Ghosh here. So 38th Indian Science Congress photograph. Now, TIFR shifted to Old Yacht Club in 1949, and the stone laying for the present buildings of TIFR was done by Prime Minister Nehru in 1954. These are photographs of the balloon flight, Bhabha at Bangalore. Okay. This is TIFRAC, the full-scale electronic digital computer designed and built in India. And it was completed in 1959 and commissioned in 1960. This is not BHU from where I come. This was inauguration of the Homi Bhabha Auditorium, 1968. MS Shubhalakshmi. Bhabha passed away in 1966. This is Professor Menon, who took up as the director of TIFR after Homi Bhabha passed away. This is MS Shubhalakshmi, and this is sorry. Okay, this is MS Shubhalakshmi and MGK Menon. And in that same inauguration ceremony, you hear this.
For institutions of bioscience and technology. There are other different painters and devotees of everything beautiful. These were all there, these people, but only in the world was one where Homi Bhabha was of all.
Here you see Indira Gandhi, Patrick Blackett, Cecil Powell.
And I'm able to say that his gift, not only of friendship, but of enjoying all the things of life. He was a whole man.
This is a lecture by Cecil Powell during that same event. Now we talk about the radio astronomy group. Since I have been invited here from the School of Astronomy, I thought, let me just tell how radio astronomy started at TIFR. So Professor Govind Swarup, along with 3 other people, wrote to Bhabha that they want to get radio astronomy here. This is the letter for the council approval of the setting up of the radio astronomy department. In this photograph, you can see Anthony Hewish also in one corner along with Govind Swarup. The first radio telescope, the Kalyan telescope on the left, then the Uti telescope was built, and then of course GMRT, the giant meter wave radio telescope that is now in Pune. Okay, now we know that Homi Bhabha mainly as the basically the founder of the Atomic Energy Program of India. So here is a letter which he writes to his mother from a ship, NS Savannah, which is a nuclear ship. The photograph is with Bhabha with the T. Seaborg, who was the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission of US. And he writes from that nuclear ship, Bhabha writes that I am writing this from the nuclear ship Savannah, the first of its kind in the world. It's a cargo cum passenger ship with room for 60 passengers. The cabins are comfortable but not luxurious. The ship is completely air conditioned and the air conditioning is very good. As I went to bed last night, I thought that atomic energy had really arrived. All the power for lighting, air conditioning, and the services are being generated by atomic energy. The striking feature of the ship is its striking cleanness. No coal, no oil, no smoke, no funnel. Even the engine room was spotlessly clean. Okay, so this is a letter that he writes to his mother and brother from the ship. This is, I think, 1964. 64. Now the space program of India started under the Department of Atomic Energy. Many people have no idea. They always thought that space program is under the Department of Space. The Department of Space was created after demise of Vikram Sarabhai in 1971. He died. 72 space program. The Department of Space was created. Till that, the first 10 years of India's space program was under the Department of Atomic Energy. Here you see a photograph of Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai, and here you see the gazette where the starting of INCOSPAR. Okay, INCOSPAR was created by Bhabha in 1962 with Vikram Sarabhai as a chairman. So this is the gazette. The Thumba was decided as the first rocket launching station, where this church, Mary Magdalene Church at Thumba, was there. And from that place, they decided to put up the rockets. Now, it was a rocket launching station. And because of the newly established rocket launching station, they were advertised for many scientific and engineering posts. And in response to this advertisement, a few people applied for the post of the rocket engineer. The selection committee met at TIFR on 15th of February 1963 to interview candidates for the post. And you see the first name there. Okay. So after interview, Dr. Sarabhai considered APJ Abdul Kalam as his first choice. This is the letter where he mentioned this. See the underlined part, that Kalam is my first choice, and you go ahead with it. This letter is written by H.S.T. Murthy. He writes to Professor Menon, mentioning that Vikram writes that Kalam is his first choice and appoint Kalam. Okay. Professor Menon was the director of TIFR. No, this time, at this point, Professor Menon was not the director. He was a faculty at TIFR. After Bhabha died in 66, Menon became the director. Here to Bhabha was there at that time when this is 1963. Okay. So Kalam had come to TIFR as president in 2006, as former president in 2010. When here you see the photograph, he was handed over by that director of TIFR, Astrosat model. Astrosat has just completed 10 years. This is from the proton decay experiment. See the photograph of Professor Srikanthan with Abdul Salam. And he thought that the proton decay test is crucial. This is a newspaper cutting of Times of India, and this Kolar Goldfield experiment. Professor Mandal is not here, but you can see very young Professor Mandal with a scientific officer testing the first layer of professional counters underground. This marked the beginning of the construction of the KGF proton decay experiment layer by layer. The KGF detector was the first dedicated proton experiment in the world. Here are some of the scientists that there are many, I have just chosen a few. In the first photograph, Cecil Powell, Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, Patrick Brackett. In the second one is S. Chandrasekhar. Third one is Niels Bohr. Fourth below, first one is Bart Bock. Then Fred Hoyle and Narlikar. Then here it is the chairman of the British Atomic Energy Commission, Lord Cockcroft. Now, this is my last slide here. Why Tata Institute? Who are the Tatas of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research? A little bit on them. The Dorabji Tata, okay. Who was Dorabji Tata? He was the elder son of Jamshedji Tata. Jamshedji Tata we all know, Jamshedpur. So Jamshedji Tata's elder son, Dorabji Tata, gave all his bequest to form the Tata Trust. And Tata Trust funded TIFR in 1945. The archives of TIFR is still funded by the Tata Trust. So we are very grateful to Dorabji Tata Trust for everything. JRD Tata was a chairman of the council of TIFR from 1950 till he died in 1994. He was very closely associated with TIFR, with all the directors, not only Homi Bhabha, to Professor Menon, after Menon to Professor Srikanthan. Ratan Tata was the chairman of the council of TIFR from 2000 till his death in 2024. Now his stepbrother Noel is only a member of the council. He is not the chairman. So with this, I finish my talk.
Oh, thank you very much for this comprehensive overview of the archiving process interlaced with such wonderful snippets from the archives. So now we come to the questions and discussion. So raise your hand if you have a question and I will send the mic to you. Okay. So, okay, let's start with you.
This is just simple information. So when you build it, it's just I don't know. It's bad question.
No.
So the Tata Trust funded the TIFR archive. Like, what was the approximate cost in making this whole archive?
Okay, when TIFR archives was started, they gave an amount of 25 lakhs to start. Okay. Then after that, we received an amount of around 1 crore 93 lakhs during the Bhabha centenary for 2 years. So the 2 years went up to 4 years, but we got that money. Then after that, they have given a corpus of 2.5 crores in 2011. It's the corpus. Remember, the corpus cannot be used.
Yeah.
Only the interest from the corpus can be used, and 15% of the interest has to be fed back to the corpus. So we are still using that money. Now we are preparing another proposal to ask for money from the Tata Trust. So it is basically we are continuously asking money from the Tata Trust because that is how we survive. Till now, we have not got any money from the Department of Atomic Energy. We might get in the future.
Okay, great. I just wanted to know, like, what is the scale of cost?
It's good to know that it's not a humongous amount. It's a reasonable.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for a very stimulating talk, because it gives us a lot of things that we can use when we go back in our individual archives, in our family archives. There is one thing that I would like to ask you from the student's point of view. One major challenge that institutional archives face here in this part of the world is the lack of manpower. Skilled manpower, of course, but manpower as well. And our sirs here know very well, despite the financial, institutional, infrastructural, all kinds of bottlenecks and obstacles, the kind of work that labor that goes into the digital human repository or any archiving is the labor of love, because at the end of the day, 99% of it is because of the love for the institution. So, as you are aware, under the new education policy, after the 4-year, 8-semester CCF setup was put in place, there is now a mandatory internship for students over the even semesters. And this has been a real bone of contention and a headache for students and faculty alike, because you have to look for institutions where you have the necessary tie-ups to make the students go for internships. I think this is actually a very good window, something that some of us have individually tried with limited amount of success. where we, even though the Western concept is that of a summer internship, because for them summer is the season of activity, which in our case is winter, because that is the culturally active season. So I admin my family archives, which is a very humble Mintibari archives, and we started a winternship scheme for students mainly of history, but of allied subjects who are into the process of archiving and conservation and giving them hands-on experience. So when it comes to an institution like Presidency, where almost every department has a very strong archival database, instead of the old-fashioned, say, volunteering for the seminar library way, what if the internships can be devised in a way where the students don't have to leave the campus in the first place and actually work under expert supervision as assistants, maybe just recording oral history and building the digital database or helping out with the archives for their respective departments, and therefore having a snowball effect into creating a comprehensive archive for the institution while solving the internship issue as well.
Yes, and also the student population can be utilized for the dissemination of information from the archives. You can have an exhibition of your particular department, history of your particular department through the archival material that is there in the present, university setup. Or you can regularly have news letters, or you can have bulletin boards regularly. So this way,